800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour. Gold's up $15, 1973. Silver's up 45 cents, $23.70. We've got a good opportunity here on some silver rounds. So these are, unlike silver eagles or maple leafs, these aren't minted by a government. These are minted by independent. I'll get it out. Independent minters, mostly sunshine, but we've got a variety. Whatever we get, we get. They're not telling us, hey, you're going to get this or that. They're just saying rounds here. 1 ounce silver rounds. 1 through 24 rolls. $580. I'll give you an idea. Silver Eagles today, rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles, $800. So you're talking about, what, $320 a roll, right? Is that right? $320 a roll, or is it $220? My math's bad today. $220 a roll less. I'll get it. Now, if you buy 25 rolls or more, $570. So 1 ounce silver rounds, rolls of 20. I went out and I looked at the big internet guys like usual. We're well below them. 1 ounce silver rounds, $580 for 20 ounces of silver. If you buy 25 rolls or more, $570 at 800-951-0592. And it was very interesting in this World Gold Council survey. They don't tell us how many what they call advanced economies, right? So G7 economies, versus what they say are emerging market economies. But they did say, when asked about being optimistic about gold, 71% of central banks that gold holdings need to rise compared to 61% last year. So think about this. Gold holdings, people that are holding gold, central banks, 71% of the respondents think gold's going to be higher. Last year it was 61%. Then they said, what about the future share of your reserves being in gold? Here's what was interesting. 68% of emerging market economies responded that they said that gold shares of their reserves are going to continue to rise. And when they asked the same question of the, quote, advanced economies, it was only at 38%. But I say only 38%. Jason, I still think that's a big difference. You know, mostly these advanced economies, right, they're the people that, hey, we don't buy gold, right? We don't do that anymore. It's a barbaric relic. Things are changing. That's a significant change in the attitude of gold, especially from what they're calling the advanced economies. Now, one of the things that really was interesting in the emerging markets said that the gold share of reserves, a lot of these emerging markets are saying they want to get to 25% of their reserves in gold. Jason, that's a pretty significant amount.
That's a huge amount, actually. I mean, for all the different things that a bank or any interest can put gold as part of their portfolio, 25% is pretty big. You know, I don't think that's a bad number, Joe. I think that's a good number. So I would go even heavier with some of these banks in some of these countries, because what else are they really going to put their money in that's actually going to hold value? You know, how about this? Any country that has any kind of savings is just remarkable on its face, right?
Right. And when I'm thinking about this, and this was the question. Really, I got to be honest here. The question was, will you let your gold holdings equal 25% or more of your reserves? By the way, the funny part was that last year, none of the central banks said they wanted to do that. So this is how big of a shift that's really taking place here. Only 20% of the emerging market central banks that responded said that the U.S. dollar share of gold reserves, of global reserves, will remain unchanged. They didn't even say go higher. Only 20% said, hey, we're going to leave our dollar reserves unchanged. All the rest of them said, we're going to lower our dollar reserves. Another big change last year when they asked this same question. Because remember, it started last year, really picked up. It was at 54% said they were going to leave their dollars unchanged. This year, it's down to 20%. And last year, central bank gold buying was a record. I mean, this survey kind of says, hey, get ready. There's a good chance we can beat last year's record because a lot more of these banks, these central banks, are saying, you know what, we don't want to hold dollars. The vast majority of central banks, what they call emerging market central banks, believe that the use of the dollar is going to continue to decline. And again, the currency most mentioned besides gold, the renminbi, Jason, probably not a surprise.
You know, if you're a central bank and you're not, or a government, you're not increasing your ounces of gold, the percentage of your holdings could still increase in gold here, because if your other assets drop in value, that means the percent of value in your holdings in gold goes up. So even if you do nothing, your gold holdings might go up, Joe, depending on how the other assets perform, which I don't see the stock market worldwide doing very well in the next few years.
Here's another one. How about this question? How about in 5 years? What will your dollar holdings be in 5 years? The same emerging markets from the last one. I'm assuming they're the same. They don't tell me, but the number's the same. Only 20% of emerging market central banks said that the U.S. dollar share of global reserves will remain the same. An interesting part was when they had asked the advanced economies. Now, these are what I would call U.S.-friendly economies. Barely half of them said that the dollar, the amount of dollars, the dollar share of the global reserves will remain where they're at 5 years from today. Even our quote-unquote friends are getting ready to half of them are already admitting, yeah, it's going to be less. Which just means, what does that mean for all of us? Because we use dollars here, that means you got to have more gold. I mean, it's pretty simple. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold's now up 50 cents here, $23.75. 1 ounce silver rounds. Rolls of 20, $580. If you buy 25 rolls or more, $570 at 800-951-0592. I mean, that puts you below $30 to the ounce. I mean, silver's almost $24 here. You're at 29. If you buy 25 rolls or more, you're in the 28s. That is a super tight premium here. I mean, buying anything government hallmarked below $30 in silver just really not possible. And remember, even the banks that hate silver, Citigroup, J.P. Morgan, you know who they are. Even they are like, okay, the next 6 to 12 months, yeah, silver is probably going to be starting with a 3, and I think there's a chance it could start with a 4. So here, it's a great opportunity to continue to add to your portfolio, continue to stack your portfolio. 1 ounce silver rounds, rolls of 20, $580. Buy 25 rolls or more, $570 at 951-0592. We had terrible earnings out of Advance Auto Parts today. That stock down 30%. The retail earnings have not been good. One of the things that we haven't mentioned in the debt ceiling, one thing that is in there is student loan repayments will have to start again. Now, remember, at least on the government student loans, they haven't been paying since COVID. Jason, this is going to be another one of these things where, and how many are there? Are 50 million not paying? Probably not, but my guess is there's probably 20 million people out there not paying. That'd be my guess. Now they're going to have to start paying again. Well, that just means what? There's less money. Hey, if I've got to make a $400 payment, that's $400 less dollars I have to spend, whether it's going to the restaurant, whether it's going grocery shopping, right? This is another thing where we think that the economy could slow, but at the same time, the JOLT survey just came out, job openings, they jumped back up a little bit, went back to 10 million, and there's still wage inflation out there, a lot of mixed signals coming out of the economy, but this one thing, if this is going to happen and these student loan payments have to go back into effect, it will have some form of an effect on the economy for sure.
Yeah, and just to add to the weight of that, if you're in the position where you can't pay your credit card bill or you can't pay your school loan, once you've been through the process of collections, if you got a job to pay the bills and you got no money in the bank account, well, the court will just order garnishment of your wages. Now you're just essentially adding a tax or your repayment of these loans by the court, and you now have another bill to pay, so to speak, that you couldn't pay to begin with, which is why you stopped paying it, and then you went to collections. These people, Joe, are in dire straits that have debt. This is not a good time to have a lot of debt. That's just plain and simple. When there's this inflation going on and all the monkeying going around in the debt that we have in this country, having a lot of debt is not a good place to be, Joe.
Yeah, and then we had PMI data out. Texas had released their own, another contraction. Chicago, wow, just a big drop. They had an unexpected, there was still contraction. They had a reading of 48 last month. Anything over 50 is growing, under 50 not growing. They were expecting 47 for this month. It came in at 40. Well below, but here's what's interesting. Look at inside the data. Prices paid. Inflation rose. So you're talking about they're deep in negative. 40 is like terrible. And yet prices paid rose. New orders fell. Employment fell. Inventories fell. Deliveries slowed. Production fell. Backlogs fell. When you hear that, prices paid should not be rising, and yet they said, Jason, hey, all of this stuff is getting worse, and yet we still had to pay more.
Yeah, everything you just said just sounds like recession, Joe. It's all recession. That whole thing you just said. I guess we're starting into that first quarter, I guess, of recession. That's what it appears to be. If not this one, it's going to be the next quarter, but could be this one coming up, huh, Joe?
I don't know. It's so hard to figure, right? The layoffs, which we thought were rising. And then all of a sudden, for the last couple, Massachusetts, we had this fraud, and somehow 30,000 people a week weren't unemployed that were unemployed. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what that number looks like tomorrow if it's over, because we really don't have a great gauge. And I've said it how many times, inflation's not going away until millions and millions and millions of people lose their job. And right now, I'm not seeing that. I'll say that. And that's why everyone's scratching their head, because you know what? There's all these inflationary signs, and then there's all these recession signs, and you're like, well, which one's right? And I think that's what we got to wait to find out.
Yeah, and new jobs numbers when that goes down too, because I still think there's a little bit of a carryover of people not having to work because of COVID, and now economic conditions are forcing those people to have to work. You have to work. The free money is just not there, and so now you have to get in there and pay some bills, right, Joe? And so some of these jobless claims are lower, I think, just because we haven't cycled all of that free money completely out yet. It's going away now.
I have a bad feeling that both are right. Recession and inflation. Yeah, we've never seen that trick before. 800-951-0592. Get those rounds put away. Jason and I are coming right back to wrap it up. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason wrapping up this Wednesday, the Silver Rounds extravaganza. Rolls of 20, $580 per. That's $29 to the ounce. If you buy 25 rolls or more, save $10. That's 50 cents an ounce. You save at $570 a roll. Most of the places I looked, rounds were, as low as $31. Some of them that have their own brand as low as $29 and change. Again, we're below all of those. And I just love silver here, especially. Anything below $24 is like stealing. Silver, what was it, maybe 3 weeks ago before the debt ceiling talk? Silver was at 26. Add to your portfolio here. Right now, it looks like they're going to get the debt ceiling done. But one of the things they're struggling with, of course, is the Democrats and some Republicans are unhappy about restarting the student loan payments, Jason. Well, you know what? Again, what message are we sending here? This is a message we've been sending for how long, right? It's okay to be financially responsible. Just don't pay it, right? Just don't pay. Well, in that case, why should anybody pay anything?
Why is the government paying for any of this stuff to begin with? The federal government has no business being involved in any of this sort of thing. Why are they debating something that the federal government should have no interference in? They shouldn't be taking from Peter to pay Paul. It should never happen. Really, the government should be sitting there doing a whole lot of nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, student loans weren't even a thing in the 70s. Well, they didn't exist. Like credit cards, they didn't exist. Now credit cards, it's over $1 trillion. Student loans, it's almost $2 trillion. I mean, it's insanity what has been done. And, of course, really the standard of living. Why is it that everybody is in the position they're at? Because the middle class is under attack. And the sad part is a good portion of the people that say they're middle class, Jason, really probably by a textbook definition, probably aren't even middle class. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, and people got into this idea that credit cards are a normal thing that they should be happy about, and get a whole collection of them in your wallet, and this is how you look rich. The backwards thinking, and this is why people that listen to the show are people that are trying to figure out. They come here and then they figure out, hey, maybe a little bit of savings is how I'm going to feel protected. All of the customers I meet with are some of the most calm and relaxed people I've ever met, because the economic situation of their life is much more stable than the average guy out there with a pocket full of credit cards. It came from the cartoon Popeye, right? Remember Wimpy? Yep. I'll gladly pay you next Wednesday for a hamburger today. Right? And then everybody's there now. Everybody's paying for the hamburger, next decade for the one they buy today.
And this is kind of really what it is, right? We've been doing that for like 40 years now. And now all of a sudden, like the interest on the debt swallowing everything up. It's forecasted here in the next 2 years to be the single biggest outlay, that it's going to pass Social Security. This year, there's a good chance this year it passes Medicare and Medicaid. Last year, it passed defense spending. I mean, this is kind of right. Hey, Tuesday, right? I'll pay you Tuesday. Well, guess what? Looks like Tuesday's coming here a lot faster than people think. 800-951-0592.